How's it going, guys, and welcome to the channel where it's always Halloween. My name is Jimmy Champane, and if you like monsters, slashers, pretty much any movie shot during, set during, or inspired by the 1980s, this is the channel for you. So if that seems cool, maybe consider subscribing and setting your notifications to all. But only do it if you're gonna watch the videos, because that's what's really important. Alright, so we had a lot to cover in my last video. Halloween Ends had just started filming in Savannah, Georgia, which was kind of weird since the first movie filmed in South Carolina, the second movie filmed in North Carolina, and now they're moving all the way down to Georgia for the third movie. Obviously, that probably comes down to tax breaks and budget type stuff, and in Georgia, obviously, there's a lot more film sets, and they did a much better job this time around keeping things from leaking, which I think probably played into where they shot at least a little bit. Not a ton, it was probably just like a small factor where they were like, oh, we can at least close down the sets a little bit more in Savannah, Georgia, and if we go back to Wilmington, everyone's gonna know where we're filming and come see Michael Myers' mask again and spoil it like they did the last time with the flashback. On top of that, we got to see Laurie Strode's new look for the movie, which was honestly surprising to me. She looks like she actually has her shit together. We saw the house where she might be living with her new husband, Frank Hawkins. That's not confirmed, but it kind of just seemed like that's where it was going. The outfit she was wearing was nice. Her hair was done for the first time in the trilogy. It seems like after the events of Halloween Kills, she's turning her life around. She's saying, I have let Michael Myers control my life enough. He's murdered everyone I know and love. I am just moving on. It's been long enough since we've seen him before. He's probably not coming back. We got to assume he's dead after killing Karen. Looks like she's wrong though, obviously, because we have a third Halloween movie. And David Gordon Green has been teasing how different it is, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but it seems like this one is really going back down to the small scale story we got in Halloween 2018. The main focus of this movie is going to be Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers, and of course Allison Strode versus Michael Myers, and they're bringing in Lindsey Wallace and Frank Hawkins. It's a small cast again this time around, and Laurie Strode has the motivation if Michael Myers does come back. If he comes back. When he comes back to continue his murder spree in Haddonfield. Now to me, having Laurie go through some character development and growth between movies just makes a lot of sense. If this was a movie taking place in the same night as the first two, it would obviously be weird for her to flip and have a completely different look. She'd definitely have to be in those same bloody clothes, or maybe she would find a new outfit or something, but to have a 4-year time gap between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, that gives them some room to kind of spruce things up and play around with the character, and I'm fine with that. Something I forgot to mention in my last video is the working title of this movie, which is probably going to be relevant because if you guys remember, the working title for Halloween Kills was Mob Rules, and then in the movie we saw a massive mob trying to hunt down Michael Myers, which ended up with them killing the wrong person. It was very relevant to the movie that the working title was Mob Rules. So this time around, the working title is Cave Dweller, which was revealed on a few casting websites in Savannah, Georgia. And to me, the hint there is basically saying that Michael Myers, after getting out of the Myers house after he murders Karen Strode, instead of hanging out there and letting the cops come and arrest him once again, makes his way to a cave and sits there for 4 straight years until he returns on Halloween night. Now, explaining the time gap also could be how this whole pandemic element breaks into the movie. I don't want them to get too into this because I'm going to the movies to get away from the last few years. I do not give 2 shits about having that stuff in my movies, and honestly, I feel like it would detract from them. But if it's a passing throwaway line where they're like, oh yeah, we canceled Halloween the past 4 years, that would kind of explain why Michael Myers was sitting and hiding. He's waiting for the energy. He's waiting for the sea of kids and teenagers in Halloween costumes that he can kind of weave in and out of and make his way through the night murdering people. That is a fair explanation for me, but I do not need like Midnight Mass style monologue where someone's sitting there talking about, oh, how bad the last few years have been. Like, I know how bad it was. I lived through it. I do not need to see it in my Halloween movies, and I feel like most people are on board with that sentiment. Also, I think this working title of Cave Dweller pretty much closes the book on all these people's theories that somehow Karen Strode lived and that was like a dream sequence or something like that. No, Karen is officially dead. I am not even entertaining that idea. It would be really fucking dumb, in my opinion, to have her come back in the third movie with a fake out like that. Like, let that death be impactful to the Laurie Strode character. She still has Allison, and that death is even more impactful to her because that's her mom. I guess it's equally impactful to Laurie because that's her daughter, and she's spent her entire life trying to protect her. So yeah, either way, do not retcon that death. That is an important death to the story that they're trying to tell. I know that people love these fan moments where characters come back, but I want a good story at the end of the day, and bringing her back being like, oh, that was a dream sequence, doesn't seem like the smartest idea to me, especially after they they changed the ending of the movie to make it more definitive that she died. But yeah, that's the update on the working title, and since I did my last video, Jamie Lee Curtis is officially wrapped on Halloween Ends. She shared a bunch of pictures of her time in Savannah, Georgia on Instagram. Unfortunately, or I guess thankfully, depending on how you feel, we didn't really get any big reveals or anything like that from these Instagram posts. There was one picture I saw of David Gordon Green looking really good in a Halloween Kills t-shirt. Just thought that was cool. It's on screen right now so you can check it out. But yeah, if the rumors are to be believed, this is the last time Jamie Lee Curtis will play Laurie Strode. Like, she has wrapped up filming on the last time she'll play here. Now, obviously, a lot of people, kind of myself included, are like, is this really the last time you're going to play her? Because Halloween Resurrection was the last time you're going to play her. Halloween 2 was the last time you're going to play her. Like, this has happened a few times, and they also rebooted the franchise only for her to come back after it. So I get why people aren't entirely closing the mental door on Laurie Strode returning, but for me, this movie's called Halloween Ends. It seems like David Gordon Green kind of knows what he's doing at this point. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he's a great director. I think this could be the end of the Laurie Strode character, and even more confirmation of that came from an interview with John Carpenter, because Escape from LA is coming out in 4K Blu-ray. He's been doing a few interviews, so I read them all, and he had one where he talked about if Halloween will continue after Halloween Ends. And it's basically the most John Carpenter answer ever. He said, "Let me explain the movie business to you. If you take a dollar sign and attach it to anything, there will be somebody who wants to do a sequel. It will live. If the dollar sign is not big enough, no matter what, it will not live." And then after being pushed again if Halloween would continue after Halloween Ends, he said, "I don't know, man. I don't know. This time, I do not know. They really want to end. They're gonna shut it off, end it. It's what David has in mind. That's fine." Now that seems like a pretty definitive answer on if this trilogy really is the end of Michael Myers and the Halloween brand as a whole. But I'm gonna tell you right now that if this movie makes a lot of money, like if it makes more than Halloween Kills, or even potentially more than Halloween 2018, it could happen. I guarantee you, this will not be the end of Blumhouse working with Trancast and Miramax and Universal making Halloween movies. Jason Blum basically said that just a few months ago. He was doing an interview about Firestarter where he said, "We made an arrangement for 3 movies. We had a 3-picture marriage with Michael Myers. I would love to extend it. If Maladakad would like us, I'd love to extend it. But we're very busy making sure the 3rd movie is spectacular because that's our immediate job. And if it goes beyond that, I'd be thrilled. But there are currently no plans for us to be involved after this 3rd movie." And for real, he'd be crazy not to make more Halloween movies, because if you look at the landscape of Blumhouse movies, especially the ones they've made with Universal, Halloween is near the top, if not the top, of the biggest box office profits that they've made so far. And just because this is the end for Laurie Strode's story, that does not mean it needs to be the end for Michael Myers' story. I know there's a huge group of critics and newer fans out there who don't really understand that the big draw for a ton of people for these movies is to come see Michael Myers. Having Laurie Strode for one final trilogy was a great way to reinvent the franchise, to reboot it, to really get it back in the wider audience's minds. But for the hardcore fans, we were like encaptured by Michael Myers as kids, and we want to see more Michael Myers. So I know there's already a sentiment out there where articles and people are saying, oh, this needs to be the movie where Michael Myers finally dies. We've seen him die. In Halloween 2, he gets blown up and fire is literally shooting out of the eyes of his mask. We've seen him die in other movies as well. We don't need to see that again. It's been done to death, ironically, having Michael Myers be killed on screen. Without Laurie Strode, he can come back to Haddonfield every Halloween and just keep people's fear in check, because I love the fact that Halloween as a holiday has that little tinge of fear. And hey, without Laurie Strode, maybe he doesn't need to be tied to Haddonfield. He could come to literally any small town in America and scare the shit out of all the kids there. That sounds crazy to me, and I love ideas like that. For some reason, this whole slasher renaissance doesn't seem to be panning out the way it should. We just got the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie on Netflix, and it is basically a ripoff of Halloween 2018 with Leatherface. I don't know why the first thing they decided to do when they got this franchise was replace the wacko family that surrounded Leatherface in the first movie and really made that movie good. The same thing with the remake in 2003 and to some extent Texas Chainsaw The Beginnings. They said, nope, we're not going to have the crazy family. We're just going to have Leatherface, and he's going to be a monstrous killer like Michael Myers. And when it comes to Scream, a lot of people really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was pretty good. Now, to be fair, I'm not the biggest Scream fan in the entire world. I like Ghostface as a concept. I think he's a scary killer, but the reason people like Scream is because it's a different killer every time, and that's kind of the reason I'm not the biggest Scream fan. I don't really get attached to Ghostface because it's a different different killer every time and not the same person from movie to movie. But I get why people like that, and as a slasher movie, I think Scream was really effective. As far as these requels go, I think that's probably the next best one after Halloween 2018. I've made my thoughts known on the remake of Child's Play many times. I really dislike that movie. I think it would have been better if it was its own movie and not connected to the Child's Play brand. The Chucky show from last October ended up being really good, but what we're really waiting for at this point is Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street could come back whenever. As long as they have a treatment for it, there's definitely stuff in place where that movie could happen. I think it's sitting with Warner Brothers and the Craven estate right now, so that movie, again, could happen whenever someone has a great idea for it. Friday the 13th, on the other hand, is a little bit messier. The lawsuit is basically over, but it came out in favor of Victor Miller, so if they want to make more Friday the 13th movies, there's going to have to be some playing nice between Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller. But this whole situation was basically inspired by money, and they're going to be inspired to work together by the idea of making money. So I have some high hopes for Jason eventually coming back. And then the one that no one's really talking about that seems like it's going to be incredible is this Hellraiser movie from David Bruckner. They've cast Pinhead. It sounds like it's going to be fucking awesome. I'm really excited. That dude is a completely underrated director, like straight up one of the most underrated horror directors out there right now. So yeah, there is stuff happening in the slasher world that I think is going to be good. It just seems crazy to let Halloween usher in so many new movies that have failed to meet the standard it really set back in 2018 and then just let it all go in 2022. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's going to be more Halloween movies. You can hold me to that one. Another thing that was talked about a lot in my last video's comments is the mask in Halloween Ends. I think this is going to be a little bit different of a mask. By the end of the movie, it's just basically still the Halloween 2018 mask that was molded a little bit differently to look more like the original Michael Myers mask. If you put them side by side, you can really see the difference. It just has that burning on one side. So I'm not entirely sure what Michael could do to really fix that up. I know it's going to probably be more aged and a little bit dirtier, of course, since it's sitting in a cave potentially for 4 years. I saw some comments about rumors of it being stitched together like a Leatherface mask. I just don't know what part of it really needs to be stitched together because by the end of the movie, it's not ripped. Maybe we'll pick up at the end of Halloween Kills. At the beginning of Ends, we'll see him beat down a little bit more and then escape off into the woods, and then his mask will be more ripped. But as it stands at the end of Kills, I just don't see any reason for it to really come back stitched together. Either way, I don't think it's going to be long until we actually get a look at this mask because the marketing will probably start up around June. I know that seems like a long time, but those few months are going to fly by, and then we'll see the Trick or Treat Studios mock-up and we'll get excited all over again for a new mask. I mean, that's just how I'm feeling. And this last section of the video is definitely for the Halloween superfans. So if you've ever planned on coming out here to California and heading over to South Pasadena to check out the Myers house and other filming locations from Halloween, I highly recommend doing that, but you should also check into the Sugarman Gallery right next door to the Myers house. Basically what it is a super cool art gallery that's focused on Halloween, trick or treat, and right now they also have a Scream exhibit going on where you can see some really cool paintings that people did around the Scream franchise. Really smart move on their part. The coolest thing there right now is definitely for Halloween fans. It's a full-sized screen-used costume of Michael Myers on a mannequin with a head that's molded from a cast of James Jude Courtney's head. So everything looks exactly as it did in the movie. The coveralls, the boots, the t-shirt underneath, the head underneath the mask has the painted dead eye effect. The mask itself was screen used. It looks so cool, and Christopher Nelson's name is on it. I guess he sent it over to the gallery to be on display for a little bit, but supposedly it's being moved to a museum soon, so you should definitely check it out sooner rather than later. But while I was checking out the full-size Michael Myers, I looked up and I saw all of these prints from set photos from the original Halloween and Halloween 2, like iconic moments, and I was like, I have to have one of these. So I looked closer and I realized that these are new prints from negatives that were taken on the set of these two movies, and they're all signed by the person who took them, which is crazy. So the one I ended up grabbing is this one. It's John Carpenter standing next to the camera and Michael Myers is behind the camera in costume. I thought it was just so cool, and as you can see, it's signed. There's a billion other pictures, and I'm gonna warn you, they are pricey, so if you're a Halloween fan who has bad impulse control like I am, you're definitely gonna wanna bring a little bit of extra cash, or maybe avoid that room altogether. Like hold your hand like this when you walk into the room with the full-size Michael Myers. But yeah, like I mentioned, there's a full-size Sam from Trick or Treat. There's Halloween decorations in the backyard, like a bunch of pumpkins hanging from trees. I guess they also do movie screenings there sometimes. So if you're looking for something something really fun to do while you're in town checking out the Myers house and other filming locations, I cannot recommend Sugarman Gallery enough. It's right off of Mission Street, across from the hardware store you see in Halloween 1, and that's where the Myers house is also. They moved it to be right across the street. This isn't really Halloween news, I just wanted to tell you about this cool gallery because right when I moved out here to LA and I just started my channel and I was just making Halloween videos and the first one really started to take off, I went into this gallery and I was talking to the woman who owns it, and she was like, yeah, I just kind of opened up this gallery and I've kind of converted it to be a Halloween gallery. I don't know how it's really going to pay off. And then a couple months ago, I saw a whole article about her in Fangoria, and I was like, damn, we both had these things that we started when Halloween 2018 was coming out grow a ton since then. I just thought that was cool, so I went in to talk to her about it. Couldn't have been nicer. It was a great experience overall. So definitely go check it out next time you're in South Pasadena.